So a few months ago, I get a phone call from a Nashville guitarist who wanted help setting up and putting together his own home studio. His name was Brett Papa. If you don't know Brett, he is an amazing guitar player and online educator who's made amazing online guitar courses with people like Tom Bukovic, Guthrie Trapp, Ariel Posen, Tim Pierce, actually a large amount of other really talented guitar players. Now, I've seen Brett around on YouTube because he actually makes really cool videos with some pretty badass people. So of course, when I got the call, I said, let's do it. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Andrew Masters. Welcome to Studio Time, audio engineer. This is where we talk studio gear, equipment, studio setup, how to make your studio work for you instead of against you. Today, I'm gonna take you inside of a consultation I did with a client, Brett Papa, and show you how we transformed his studio. So it started with the first consultation call where we basically just get a feel for what his current studio setup is like, where it is, why it is the way that it is, and what his goals are for the studio, what he wants it to become. The studio he has been working in is in his house, essentially like an extra den. He has it set up for mostly as a place where he can film and record at a high level guitar players, where they can come in and he can interview them, he can make these courses, he can make these YouTube videos, they can play together, they can practice and playing techniques and capture it at a high level. Now, what he explained to me is he wants to essentially elevate this room to be able to bring in a full band of musicians and actually do Nashville sessions where you have a bunch of people playing instruments live at the same time together and capturing them at a high fidelity. And not only that, doing it in an efficient way where people can come in, you can grab 3, sometimes 5, 6 songs in under 3 hours. Sessions here in Nashville are just on a completely other level. So not only does he need to change the flow of this room in general, because he's still going to want to be able to film some of these sessions that they're doing, but he wants to be able to essentially keep things in a record ready state. So from what I deduced from the first consult calls, he wanted a similar setup to what I have, which is a hybrid recording mixing setup where you're still recording in the computer, but you're utilizing high-level analog outboard equipment, microphone preamps on the way in to get the sounds that you want, but still sort of keeping the studio always ready to go. So you're not like changing the entire state of the studio if you need to work on a mix. It's just ready to go. Musician comes in studio, they plug in their guitar, their bass, their keys, whatever they're using. There's a pair of headphones there with the mixer. They put the headphones on, they play their instrument. Guess what? They can hear themselves as well as the other musicians that they're playing with, as well as the engineer who might need to communicate with them. Everything is seamless and has as little friction as possible. At the end of the call, Brett said he loved it and he wanted to get started. All right, so it is 8:11. I'm gonna help Brett Papa. We're gonna get some breakfast together. Me, Cole, Addison, and Brett are meeting at this cool spot called Urban Market. I think this is the exit I take. Urban Market. What are you getting, Addison?
Salad, bro.
Okay, breakfast at Urban Market was an absolute success. If you're ever in Franklin, Tennessee, I would highly recommend. Now we're on our way to Brett's studio. I'm very excited. It's my first time going to Brett's studio. We're basically going to transform it into a insane, epic home studio where you can do anything and get just incredible sounds.
So
what's the vision here?
We're thinking that like when it gets set up to do bands and stuff, a drum set will be here. Music City Acoustics fantasized about this being the drum room.
Yeah.
But my wife's like, no. So we'll use it for amps and stuff like that. Nothing has to be where it's at.
Cool. All right, well, let's dig in.
Yeah.
So after talking with Brett about the goals of his studio, I get working on the plan for everything that he's going to need, everything that he's going to do. First thing I do is I start with the signal flow of the studio. This is everything from the very source, the instrument that you're starting with, to every cable across every path, all the way to the very end of coming out of the speakers, and then everything in between. This helps us keep track of the project in terms of equipment lists and budget, and as far as making sure we have everything that we need so that when it all shows up, it's all there, it can easily be connected and just work right away. Everything is going to be in one room. And then the rest of the room will be laid out so that you can have performers in different parts of the room and be able to run microphones, cables, and lines to those performers, to different stage boxes or XLR boxes that you plug these things into, and it all routes to this spot that the desk is at. Now, based on Brett's goal, he's going to want a high channel count for inputs, but then he's also going to need a fairly high channel count for the way that he wants to work with the outboard equipment and mixing, using them as hardware inserts. And the way that you do that is you basically take a channel, an entire channel, input and output, and you dedicate it to one channel of outboard equipment. So you have an EQ, you want to use that as a hardware insert, well, you have to have a channel that it's patched into 100% of the time. So you have to have a pretty high channel count to do a hybrid setup like this. We basically came up with a version similar to mine, which is a 64 IO setup. The first 32 are dedicated as all your recording inputs. So microphones 1 through 32, and then we will do an expanded IO interface, which will basically be dedicated for the hardware inserts and the outboard equipment. This is all going to connect to a patch bay. So he's gonna have TT9648 patch bays, which will connect to the XLR lines for the microphones, to the interface inputs and outputs, to the mic preamp inputs and outputs, the outboard gear inputs and outputs, monitor controller, and headphone mixers at minimum. So that's a lot of connections, and the way that it's gonna work when I label this out and plan the routing on his patch CAD, it's gonna be pretty much set and forget. The way that you want this to be is to just work on its own. You wanna have this thing so that you don't have to fuss with it. Next, what we discussed was the equipment that Brett had in mind. What he's looking to do is essentially upgrade the studio side of the equipment, which are going to be the mic preamps, the outboard equipment that he wants to mix through, speakers, monitor controller, things like that. I think we're totaling somewhere around 20 channels for preamps, and then the outboard equipment, which will essentially have some version of a mix bus compressor EQ scenario, a handful of other EQs, and then other compressors that can be used within the mix. I sent all of those things over to Brett, and then it was time for day one setup. Anytime I'm involved in setting up this part of the studio, I always make sure to put a heavy emphasis on labeling everything. Every snake on both sides of the snake get labeled. What is it? What is it going to? What is it coming from? This way, in case things change, when you go to disconnect that thing, when you go to reconnect things, guess what? You pick up that snake to plug it in, it tells you exactly where it's going, exactly what it was coming from. And that way it's super easy and almost mindless work reassembling a studio, because all of that thinking has already been done. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but when I'm doing my consults, my studio planning, it's a lot of organizing and a lot of preparation that I have to do, especially trying to find all of the right equipment. So the number one place that I use for all of that stuff, because number one, they have it, but number two, it's so easy to organize, is at sweetwater.com. Sweetwater is sponsoring this video. Thank you, Sweetwater. When I go to look for all of these things, I can organize them based on category. I can prioritize them in the list and also keep a detailed budget for the plan. So and the way you do that is with their wish list feature. I have probably 100 freaking wish lists on my account. It's a really great feature if you're planning your own studio and you're doing it on your own. So if you're gonna do that, go down in the description of this video, hit one of the links of mine. I have a wish list that actually organizes all of the equipment I use here in my studio, pretty much all of it. That is an affiliate link that takes you to Sweetwater. So of course that is a free, no cost way to support what I'm doing here in the studio with these videos, so I can keep bringing them to you and you can get the gear that you need for your studio. If you have any questions, you can book a consult with me on my website, andrewmastersmusic.com. Now that we had all of the system and the architecture for his studio connected, prepped, and ready, now it was time for the rest of his journey, which is getting drums, bass stuff, just having a handful of house studio instruments ready to go. So once we got everything up and running and tested, he rolled with it for a few weeks. I came back for a second day because he ordered a couple extra things that we wanted to add into the system. And while I was there, we went ahead and just shot a little preview of what the studio looks like after all of this stuff has been set up. So check that out. Okay, so we have now spent 2 days assembling this beast. I did a little bit of prep work with you, what, a month or 2 ago, 2 months ago? Probably?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be able to do it all at once, and then some things panned out to where it was like, okay, it's go time. And so we were able to get kind of almost everything that so much of this stuff is I saw from your channel.
Tell me, for people watching here, who are you and what do you do? Let's start there.
My name is Brett Papa, and I am a guitar instructor on YouTube, and I also film instructional courses. That's my main business, and I work with everyone from Bukovac to Guthrie Trapp. I produce their guitar instructional courses for them. I also go around and I film sessions, I film bands. What I wanted to start doing is being able to bring bands in here and start teaching people how to play in a band scenario. We have lots of stuff teaching people how to play guitar, but then when it comes to actually playing with other people, I wanted to be able to do that here. And be able to not only teach a guitar course, but then how do you play with a drummer? How do you play with a bass player? What do you listen for? And like really give people that whole musical experience. In doing that, I needed to set up a studio here, and I've been watching Andrew's channel for years, and so I found out that he was here, and I was like, oh dude, this will be perfect. I'm old school, the computers scare me, and I'm super 56K when it comes to computers and programs and all that stuff. I'm like, when I call him, I'm like, I want to be able to touch things and turn things like if it's a guitar pedal, can we make the studio like that? I want to be able to mix and do all that stuff more in an analog capacity, so super freaking pumped. To be honest, a lot of it was when I saw your home studio setup and how you run things and how everything's plugged in and ready to go.
Yeah.
That to me, when I talked to Andrew, I'm like, I don't want to have to mess with the patch bay. I don't want to have to do all this stuff. So, whatever it's going to cost for me to just have enough stuff to where it can be plugged in, ready to go, and all I have to do is turn it on and press record and not have to worry about all of this stuff. Yes, it's nice to be able to do that if we need to, but I didn't want to have to. And so we got it all routed out to where it's perfect. I mean, literally, I just have to turn on the power switches and we're ready to go. And he helped me set up Pro Tools and routing and all that stuff. And it's just been freaking awesome. So
this is sort of like how things have been going with the courses. You've been doing sort of a set over here with all of the tools that you need to capture guitars and amps and get all the tones that you need in one spot, but you're going to be expanding out to this whole room. So that you can essentially have a full session drummer, multiple guitars.
Yeah, totally.
Bass.
Well, and we just finished this room recently too, so we're gonna be able to put like cabs and really mic stuff up. I can't wait, it's been awesome.
So there's still, like you said, a couple boxes to check of some different things that are gonna come in. We've got everything else dialed. We've got mic pre's for inputs down here, flows directly in the signal flow going to the interfaces, out to the monitor station, speakers, headphone routing. Even got a little MIDI controller under there. And then everything on the right is post-recording hardware inserts so that you can utilize some of these compressors and EQs as tools for mixing after the recording as inserts within the DAW. Once you get some faders, then you can actually put some fingers on some faders and have the full immersive experience of touching things and hearing the changes.
Well, and I wanted to be able to like bring in not only musicians but producers, engineers, and stuff like that too. So if people are wanting to do the whole experience, a lot of the people I sell courses to, are people that have played guitar. Maybe they want to have a home studio, they want to have a band, and so my idea is like kind of helping them, understand the entire process. And so it's not just going to be guitar instructors anymore. I'm going to bring in, engineers and producers and mixers and all that kind of stuff to really kind of show everybody how the whole thing works if they wanted to get into it. Now, obviously you don't have to have all this stuff, but my idea is if people from in town are coming over to like have something that they would be comfortable working on and being able to show what they can do, so.
It's gonna be a really, really fun room to have. This is like the bones of this room are really cool too. You've got the brick on one side, you've got this wood paneling here, some drywall. So you've got like a really nice variety of materials, which make for a great sounding room to track in. So.
Yeah.
It's funny, this part of the process is so fun for me. I think the old assistant engineer in me just loves like when things come together and the client gets to see everything work how they had in their brain come to reality. So once we took one more break to get some more food at Urban Market, we came back, connected the rest of the studio slowly, and had a lot of fun doing it, and started testing things one line at a time. I went through, created labels, showed them how to operate the interface software, how simple it is, how flexible it is. We opened up Pro Tools, went ahead and built out a couple different templates. Yeah, it sounded great. Brett was super excited about it. It's gonna, starting essentially over with your all new gear can be a little bit intimidating. So I always like to be there with them and show them exactly how simple it is. And don't overthink this, don't get confused. It's simpler than you think. The one goes to one, everything is easier than you would imagine. Again, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're building a studio and you want to book a consultation, do something like this with me, check out my website, andrewmastersmusic.com. I'm going to link Brett, his courses, his website, all of his stuff, his YouTube channel. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun if you're a guitar player. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.